welcome to the Wargaming.net League of North America World of Tanks. Tonight is week 1, day 2 of gameplay for our league, which is 3 weeks, culminating into our finals on August 17th and 18th in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am Dan Frodancho, and joining with me on the set is Randall Rukil Holcomb. Randall, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited, Randall, for you to join me in live analysis and commentary, because it's a change up from what we normally do.
Yeah, it is a big change, and we'll see how I do, I guess, right?
Well, don't be too nervous, man. We're going to have lots of fun, and we're going to have lots of great games. Tonight is the Bravo Conference Division of play. Last night we got to see a lot of cool teams and a lot of great games, and we'll backtrack of it in a little bit. Yeah. But for now, let's go ahead and break down something that's really cool that we like to do. It's a tradition here at Hero Level Productions. It's this day in history, and Randall, you looked over my shoulder and saw what I was looking at. What happened today in 1943?
Battle of Prokhorovka. So that is a huge event, and most servers usually do something for that. So did the U.S. server do something?
No, I don't think that we actually did anything. It's just that it's hit the lights weekend. But yes, today in July 12th, 1943, I believe was the correct year. It was the Battle of Prokhorovka. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Close enough.
Yeah, it was a battle between the Soviets and the Germans, where the Soviets, they did manage to win the battle, but it came at a huge cost. But at what cost?
But at what cost?
They lost a lot of man and personnel. It was a huge tank fight, one of the largest in tank fighting history. And of course, if you guys want to read about it, just go to Wikipedia and search Battle of Prokhorovka.
It is so big that we even have a map in game named that. So that is the impact that it had on the Russians. That's how important it is to them. So
it's very memorable. Also, an equally memorable person in history. His name is Andre Kritorp Hengtry. He will be on the analysis desk. Andre, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, guys. You know, something interesting about Proc is also that arties weren't used in that battle because there were just so many tanks in a small field. So kind of interesting, but like there were tons and tons and tons of tanks during that battle. I actually did a lot of my history. Just like looking back into the maps and everything, and also saying, holy crap, there's a lot of cool stuff that happened going back into history. Anyway, I want to talk really quickly. We have a guest that came into the studio, guys.
That's right.
And his name was Treble. Big Taylor Swift fan. But he got me a gift, okay? And I have no clue what it was, but I'm going to unbox it for you guys right now because, well, that's the cool thing to do, right?
That's right. Trouble did stop by our studio, and he's given Andre a gift.
Let's go ahead and check this out because I am flabbergasted. There's a hat. I'm not a big hat fan, but oh, now I am. Right there.
The Trouble Fan Club. Oh, the Trouble 2
Look
Fan
at this.
Club.
There's an EC behind here, too.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
cool. So I guess this is very apt for my spot today.
Oh, so now we have 2 people on set with hats.
except mine's way cooler. I mean,
that's
let's
right.
start up a poll.
A poll.
A poll.
Chat. Whose hat is better, chat?
We'll have
Mine.
to decide that throughout the broadcast.
Andres.
But of course, we're here to have fun, guys, and it is going to be a lot of fun because Trouble 2 is in studio. It's a great segue to go into our match list tonight because Trouble 2 will be making an appearance along with EC, also known as Ermagerd Kerner. Let's go ahead and look at the matches we have for this evening. Randall, let's go ahead and read it down.
Yeah, so we have Simplistic versus Nerve first, followed by Cunningham's versus Ermagerd Kerner. We call them EC. Then Fulcrum versus Bear Huggers. And then Turtle Police versus Simple Tankers, and then finally Strike versus Wreak Havoc.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of great games. I'm really excited for some of them. You know, we're going to be able to see some matches also from the Alpha conference as well. It's not purely the Bravo. It is 8 teams per conference as well, and then we're going to have all these teams playing in 3 weeks over the course of our league, and we're going to be able to bring that to you guys over this channel. So make sure to subscribe, click that follow button, so that way every time we go live, you guys can be able to catch our broadcast. But before we go into the rest of tonight's format groups and the games, we also want to go over yesterday's matches. We had a lot of fun yesterday, didn't we not? Right?
There were some really cool matches. Actually, we even highlighted a few of those matches, and we've got a backtrack here right now.
That's right. So the first match brought to you by Joshua Clutch Gray is the Turtle Police versus Fulcrum match on steps. Lots of crazy action. But we did get to see Fulcrum be able to exert their dominant will on steps.
Yeah, this was a great example of some awesome positioning. We had 1390s in the right places at the right
look
times.
At Soviet in the corner there. We don't usually see too many light tanks up in that position, but he was able to play it beautifully. And from there, Fulcrum was able to take the series and the first win of our opening match. Our second one was River of Blood versus Refuse to Die. Now, this match on Abbey was quite interesting just because both of them went head on into each other, and we don't usually expect that much action right off the
I
kick
think
off.
that was a big accidental engagement, and when you have an accidental engagement with this much of an impact on the teams, neither team can really back away because they don't feel like they have that advantage. So they had to keep fighting, and then there were some really crucial losses on the side of River of Blood, where Refuse to Die then followed up and really put the pressure on.
Yep, and of course, from that point on, it became a very important match on Mines, where a River of Blood would end up being able to take the series despite dropping this map. I remember this was a last-second ditch effort. They tried to go for the map, the cap reset, didn't work out in their favor. Really good series, actually, overall. I was really excited by it.
It's just a crazy map on Mines. It was like one team had control of the hill, then River of Blood gave it up, then they tried to take it back, all sorts of craziness.
And of course, the last series we want to highlight was Game 5 on Prohorovka. Speaking of which, in this day in history, it was Cazadores versus Scurry Heart in 2013, where they were able to take the match against Cazadores. It actually worked out against their favor just because Cazadores was really aggressive early on, and we thought that they would be able to get the jump. But Scurry Heart played their position perfectly, and this is exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, it was just Russian-style charge forward right into Scurry Heart's position, and just it's really too bad for Cazadores that Scurry Heart was well prepared and in position to deal with this kind of a charge.
And I'm really excited to see how the matches will pan out tonight, because I know we do have a mix of different styles tonight, whether it's really aggressive, charge down the middle type play, or it's really tactical, strategic positioning, and really be able to react to your opponents. All kinds of stuff will be happening in these matches for later tonight. But before we go into that, we also want to introduce to people what is our World of Tanks League format. Randall, let's go ahead and break it down.
Yeah, so there are 7 players per team with 42 points per team. There are, that's why we call it 742, and the highest tier tanks are tier 8. You don't get tier 9, you don't get tier 10. So that's something to pay attention to. Tier 8 is what we play with, and sometimes you'll see tier 1s. But each match is a best of 5, first to 3. We do have some interesting rules for when there are draws.
That's right, Randall.
Which can make things go a little further, but usually it only goes to 5.
Usually, but that wasn't the case yesterday, and I'm willing to put money that it's not going to be the case tonight as well. So what happens is people often see games of World of Tanks and they draw, and what normally conventional leagues do is that they play it again, and then they play it again, and then they play it again. And some people do this for hours in leagues in Russia. But that's not the case over here in North America. If you draw, then you just pretend like as if no one gets the point and you move on in the series. And if it comes to Game 5, where the point is still draw, then we actually play out each map until every map in the pool has been exhausted. From that point on, if you're still draw, you guys obviously need to change your playstyle, but also we're just going to count it as a draw overall in the series.
Exactly, and you don't want to get those draws. Everyone wants wins. Don't go for the draw. Win always works out in the end, always works out in the long run. Don't play for the draw.
The last thing we want to also show you guys is the groups themselves, so you guys can get familiar with the teams and how everything goes. Of course, you see in Group A also as Conference Alpha, as what Clutch says?
Yeah, we're calling it Conference Alpha.
Right, it's not Conference Apple, right?
No,
For some
we
reason
use the
it came
real
as
phonetic alphabet.
All right. Well, that would actually be very helpful to remember. We have Fulcrum, River of Blood, Turtle Police, Refuse to Die, Bear Huggers, Scurry Heart, Simple Tankers, and Cazadores. Of course, we saw that Bear Huggers and Fulcrum will be making an appearance later tonight. And in Bravo, we also have Simplistic, Mop 4, Nerve, Strike, Cunningham's Wreak Havoc, and Ermagerd Kernavern. Definitely a studio favorite here, especially since Trouble 2. He's playing in the back, and Steven will be making an appearance on set later tonight for a quick interview.
He is a pretty cool guy, and I'm looking forward to that, to having him on set with us. He's fun to talk to. He's just got so much to say. He knows so much about the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's very vocal about his opinion. I actually had the opportunity to speak with him backstage, and you guys will meet him later. It's very fun, so definitely look forward to that later. We also have tons of cool little segments and especially giveaways going on throughout the night. We do want to remind people that we are going to be staying connected all throughout the broadcast on social media. So go to twitter.com/WGLNA, facebook.com/WGLNA, or youtube.com/WGLNA, although I was told right before this broadcast that you should actually go to WGLNA.com for all of our VODs, because you can find everything from there.
Yep, they'll be updated faster. It'll take a few days before we get all our stuff on YouTube. That's why we're sending you off to our website. So go on there, and you'll get everything first day.
That's right. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a commercial break as we get ready for our first series and get our face-off ready. When we come back, we're going to have our first match of the day. Don't go anywhere. You're watching WGLNA. Welcome back, everybody, to WGLNA. Hope you guys didn't miss us too much. It was only just for 1 minute, so if you guys did, you guys have obviously over-attachment issues. But we're also getting ready for our first game of the day, which We're very excited to bring to you. Let's go ahead and bring up the face-off screen so we can get introduced to everybody that's going to be playing. We're going to have Nerve versus Simplistic. How you guys doing tonight?
How's it going?
You know, I asked that question to both of them, so I realized neither of them knew how to answer. Randall, why don't you go ahead and ask the first question here?
Yeah, so Nerve, how are you guys feeling about your match tonight?
I think we're ready.
Think you're ready? Have you practiced enough? Do you think you're ready to take on Simplistic, one of the more experienced teams, I'd say, in the league?
We practiced a little bit. We should be ready.
All right. What kind of play style, and are there any maps you can tell us that we're going to see? Is there any surprises? Any little hints?
Probably no surprises for you, Rui. I mean, you should know it.
Oh, thank you. Well, and finally, I got to say, are there any words for your opponents? Everyone wants to hear something really, really awesome.
Simplistic. Keep it simple so I don't have to keep guessing.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that. It's pretty deep and poetic. I want to go ahead and ask Simplistic. How did you guys prepare for this week's match? Did you guys really go over a lot of strategies, or were you just practicing individually? Because I know some teams, they just like to platoon with each other and try to get more familiar. Are you guys very comfortable going into this match?
Oh yeah, we put in the work. We practiced against other simp teams, sat down, reworked all of our strats, especially the ones that were, on the live stream. So had to rework them. I got some good practice in. We're feeling pretty good.
Are you guys going to drop a single map to Nerve throughout this series?
Drop a single map? I mean, I'm not going to say anything. We'll just see how it performs on the battlefield.
Okay, being extremely respectful. Good luck, guys. We don't want to hold you up too long because you guys are the first match of the day. So good luck in your matches tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so that was the first taste of our face-off, and we didn't actually do the coin flip. That is my bad.
That's really too bad.
So we're going to go ahead and bring up the face-off again because it just says face-off here and didn't say coin flip.
Yeah, sorry, guys. You're
So
still
let's
there,
do this
so we
coin
can
flip
still do
thing.
it. Yeah, we're good.
All right, so go ahead. Who is the higher seed? It is Simplistic. Simplistic, call it heads or tails.
Heads.
All right, heads, and the verdict is heads. Washington is good.
All right.
You know, you bet against the Eagle once in a while, it turns out. So what map would you like?
Let's start out with Ensk.
And it's a Nerve. What position would you pick?
We'll go with North.
North side will go to Nerve, and south will go to Simplistic. There you go. I actually remember to do face-off. There we go. Thank you very much, Randall. Thank you, production team. And good luck again, Nerve and Simplistic, in your match.
Don't get nervous.
Ooh. Ooh. The only person nervous right now is me for my job because
Actually.
I had one mission, which is to get the coin flip right on the face-off.
Whatever, not a big deal.
Wow, thank you,
Only a
Randall.
little
Your
thing.
affirmation means a
Yeah,
lot.
it's like you're doing better than
So
I'm
at least
doing.
when I leave this, when I leave this
Yeah.
set, one person will be on my side.
I'm always on your side, Dan.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the teams, and let's break down what we can really expect on Angst. We can get Greetor ready on the telestrator to maybe even break down what's going on. Let's go ahead and read the team rosters off. We have Art of War, Alarge 2, Doberman, Dark, Lancier, Mighty Pillow, Prime Moose, Schooly, Speed Weaponry, Waffles, and Admiral Drake. Now, Simplistic, you have some experience with these guys. What is your opinion on them, Randall?
They are some pretty solid guys. I know many of these players. They're very good at tanks, very experienced together. Drake is best friends with Mac from
Mac G?
Mac G, from Simp Main. So
They're not even teammates.
they're not even teammates, but they are like this. They are so tight, and they are good
like
at
your
tanks.
wedding dress 20 years later.
Yeah, like that. 20 years.
Yeah, it's
Like it's gonna
assuming, I'm assuming its marriage is not in America.
Have you been 'Cause it'd
be 5 years
wedding dress shopping lately, Dan?
Yeah, but it's not public information.
Oh
yet.
well, I'm
was
sorry.
really
I didn't
hoping-
mean to tell anyone. None of you ever heard that. So, but Andre is probably ready right now to tell us a little bit about Ensk. So.
Oh, right before we do that, go ahead and also talk about our Nerve as well and break down their roster so that way you guys can get familiar with their players. We have Independent, Red Paradise, LT Carter, General Scott, Hornsby, Explosive Brutality. That sounds really rough. Marsh 11166, Psycho Killer, and Lechero.
The Shadow.
Lechero.
The Shadow.
Depends on what language you're reading it in.
Yeah.
So and these guys come from Gorilla's clan.
Yeah, you got that right. They are very experienced in Clan Wars, and a lot of that experience is really technical skill with tanks, which can all easily transfer into tier 8s. These guys do have experience in tournaments, so it's not like they're completely out in a new environment for
No,
this.
these guys are very
these guys are good at tanks. They know what they're doing. I expect them to perform admirably.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Root kill expectations are the hardest ones to appease. Every
This
time
is
we do
true.
something crazy good in tanks, like I get an ace tanker badge and I have like 150,000 credits and 10,000 experience, Randall looks over to my screen and says,
Eh,
that's all right.
it was okay. You could do better.
Hardest expectations to
Yeah.
fulfill. Well, good luck, Nerve, because it looks like the precedence has been set. All right, welcome to Ensk, the site of our first battle between Simplistic and Nerve. Let's go ahead and introduce the red team. It is Nerve taking position over in the western block, just as Greetorp mentioned. And in the south side, we have Blue, also known as Simplistic. A couple of them have already positioned over by the F line, which again, Greetorp drew out. So that's how you know that his analysis already has been very credible. Good job, Andre.
Yeah, the north block is definitely an area where obviously they want to contend a little bit, but the south side is able to get a nicer jump on there. Normally, just they're able to establish their tanks in a lot better defensive position. That's why so far we do have the north side, which is of course Nerve, setting up a lot more defensively because there are a couple more all-in aggressive options coming in from the south.
And we do see that they are setting up just like you mentioned. Across that. Now, Ents can play slow like this, especially if you go into the city blocks. I'm even reminded of Rush versus New Star, where they did this almost the exact same thing, where it was just neither team was willing to push past that E line because they didn't want to commit. So it very much could be a standstill match. But of course, you could have a person poke out a little too far, get sniped, and you immediately rotate. What do you think, Randall?
Yeah, well, talking about people getting popped out and sniped, you've got actually some really cool things that the team on the north side here, Nerve, has done with their T1s. Now, if we go to my screen, we see Lieutenant Carter. We'll actually see him in a T1 in an interesting position, which you might like. Carter is actually on my screen. There's the wall that has been destroyed. And right here, you can see this is a great open area for Nerve to cover their own cap, and it's hugely open. And what's going to happen is Simplistic's going to have a hard time trying to aggress, trying to get on cap. So that's Lieutenant Carter in this T1. Then the other T1, Independent, is actually set up to proxy spot anyone who would be approaching and crossing the E line. This is a really good position for him.
And that will definitely allow them to be prepared in case any kind of attempt over on the 7 line, whether it's a cat fast or they want to push through the western blocks. But until then, no real signs of group movement here other from Nerve. Now, Simplistic, they've been a little bit more aggressive. We have a couple people now spotted over in E3. And I want to say it's Mighty Pillow with his IS-3 has been spotted.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of movement over there in the north block. They've regressed on up. They were in the south block for a very long time. Now we have 2 IS-3s and an AMX 5100, a large Art of War, and Mighty Pillow all in that north block. And directly behind that, you have the T-69 Scully in the back, still in the south block, and the other T-69 Prime Moose. He's all the way in the back defending potential caps and also getting good crossfire in the center. So things are looking as we kind of expected on Ensk, a little bit stagnant. Neither players or neither teams choosing to go to the eastern side where it is a lot more open. It's a lot easier to start being, I guess, aggressive to an extent, or at least engage. Whenever you have these corner games and this urban fighting, it actually is very difficult to substantiate some sort of engagement because the defender normally has the advantage. You just have that first shot. You have the small, tiny little reticle that you can deal with instead of the large one you get while moving.
But after 8.6, with the recent changes to accuracy, you can definitely get away with being more aggressive. You won't be penalized as much for being on the move when you take your shots.
Very true.
Yeah, and there's actually something about the lineup that I want to see. You notice how Nerve has 2 IS-3s, 2 5100s, and a T-69? And on the other side, we see Simplistic has 2 IS-3s, only 1 5100 and 2 T-69s. So the difference here is they've gotten an autoloader that's going to burst a little harder and then be able to back off and have only about a 23-second reload, I believe, with the skills that they have. So what you're going to see is Simplistic wants to have a very brief engagement where they can have their 69s just explode on someone, and then they'll back off, and they want the 5100 to not be able to finish his clip, and they want that to kind of happen. So you've got the same kind of IS-3s, that same kind of alpha in there, but you've got less of a huge burst from the 5100s that takes a little longer but does a little bit more damage.
Doberin getting into position, trying to proxy scout, gets 2. 1 on Leshero as well as Independent. And we kind of already mentioned that that 50-meter proxy scout is very useful in this position, especially since, well, Simplistic was pushing up a little bit past, but still relatively passive game overall. We're at 5 minutes halfway through and still have yet any first damage to come out.
It's very difficult to engage on Ensk being a city map because of the way you're kind of forced into little corridors, especially if you play the west side of the map. So I really can't blame either team for not aggressing yet. However, I don't think Nerve's position is as strong as it could be. I've never been a big fan of this courtyard strat. It's very weak as far as being able to aggress out of it. You're stuck there. Once your enemy finds out where you are, you can't leave. It's very difficult to leave this position, and the T-69 out on the flank actually has the potential to be caught out and alone. So that's what I'd say the weaknesses of this courtyard strat are. It is kind of a hard turtle to break, but at the same time, it doesn't give you a lot of flexibility, which I would say is very important in a strat, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, and I would hope that's the case for this game, but it seems that the birds, as you can see on the screen, have more movement than the tanks in this game. As it just seems like Nerve has completely shut down any avenue of attack, at least over through the 1 through 5 western blocks of this game. And you can see Independent is starting to cycle out a little bit of scout rotation. Doberman and Waffles has been spotted multiple times throughout this game, but neither member of Nerve wants to poke out and get the kill.
Oh, we do actually have some nice motion out of the T1s. Both Lieutenant Carter and Independent are moving around. Carter looks like he's going off towards the east. Maybe he's going to go around and try and pressure cap. No, he's just going to go and look back across his own cap at this point, as it looks like Simplistic is trying to make some moves up here.
Yeah.
They are trying to get a little bit of ground, but they don't know where their enemy is entirely laid out. They do have indication to say that they are in the courtyard of D4, but you know, you can't be sure because there are actually some great windows that Nerve could be using right now, which would make some maneuvers nigh impossible. It really just would. Well, there's a window off in Bravo 4, which is great spot that they could have an IS-3 down. Yes.
I learned that today.
Yeah, that is exactly. Oh, but here we go. We do actually see Nerve is moving out. Watch out though, Independent. You got to watch your driving there.
A plot twist in this stalemate for the ages as we have to 245. Finally, some movement from Nerve as they have conceded. The western blocks is now rotated over towards the 5 to 7 lines. Independent and Explosive Brutality shutting down these lanes in terms of vision. And they could be motioning for a big counterattack down the middle after spending this entire time convincing Simplistic to hold the western side.
But Independent is spotted. Shots go out. They don't connect. But here we go. The rest of Nerve will be spotted. Psycho-Kill, Marsh, and Trained Noob should all get spotted here, and an engagement will begin over the train tracks.
A couple of skirmishes as Nerve was able to get some nice damage onto Most Simplistic. A large 2 was not able to withstand the damage and drops immediately. A 6-on-7 to start things off here at the 2-minute mark, and now Nerve has a big advantage moving down this road.
Yeah, that was some really great focus fire out of Nerve right there. They took down a very, very key target, one of the biggest damaging tanks on Simplistic's team, and now they get to move to cap, 1 tank up. They're going to probably protect their T1s and screen the cap with the IS-3s and 5100s, try and finish this off in a minute 40, but Marsh gets pitted and he's turned, blocking his allies.
You see that all the time in pub games. Explosive Brutality is getting flanked by Art of War as well as his comrades, and he's going to try to hold off as long as possible. The cap has initiated, 23 seconds on the clock. Will Simplistic be able to stop it? Looks like Explosive Brutality has dropped, but does he buy enough time for his teammates? Meanwhile, Doberman's going to try to poke in and get some spots, and maybe Prime Moose can stall for as long as he can.
Prime Moose takes the hit as he trades with Train Noob, but Waffles here in his T1 was able to hide for a moment. He got shots out, but he didn't stop any of the cap. Now it's up to Doberman and Waffles.
7 seconds.
They can stop the cap if they get some track shots.
They did not. 3 seconds on the clock. Simplistic has to do something about it, but they are not able to. Game number 1 goes to Nerve after they're able to rotate and secure the cap for a Battle 1 victory. Very well.
Very well played, Nerve.
Yeah. Welcome to Prohorovka. I'll do introductions before Greetorp explains to us what's going on. In the top half of the map, the red team, it is Nerve currently up 1-0. as the scoreboard does indicate Simplistic is up, but that's not the case. And the blue team, Simplistic, sending a couple scouts over to the F line, is the team towards the south. Now, Greetarp, can you go ahead and break down what's going on in the opening sequences of the game?
Sure. Right now we have the red team moving all the way over to the west side, as you were talking about before. They're probably going to stay, mainly over this little ridge over here. And they're honestly, they're going to play very, very defensive. Or if they find some way to spring a trap or some sort of trigger, they will. Blue team, though, they're going directly into the center. It's kind of interesting. I actually want to defer this to Rookhill right now because I feel like, I'm not too crazy about Simplistic's positioning.
Yeah,
right
they
now.
seem to have charged Randall and stopped over into the F4 bowl. Normally we see a little bit either a full aggressive push, but they're kind of halting there. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, so this is an example of them wanting to move up, but only at the right time. They don't want to push all the way in. They do want to take map control. Doing this does give them some map control, but the thing is about Prokhorovka is you've got this huge hill in the middle that splits it. So you can't really crest over without taking hits. But there goes down the T1. Psycho Killa making a very nice shot from the mid. Bob Doberman being out of position, being a little too far forward. He should have gone to the position I think he was going for a little sooner in the match, or not been as aggressive. That was some over-aggressive T1 play. And actually, I think we're seeing Simplistic making some interesting scout runs. The 1390s are going to make runs along the ridge here and try and spot enemies. If they had arty, they could be doing something with this, but they don't have any artillery. Most teams aren't even using artillery anymore, so the fact that this is going to be so slow is going to be just a little bit painful because there's not really going to be much damage traded unless someone exposes themselves. You have to have direct fire in these situations.
As you can see on Greetarp, as he's motioning, we have mainly 1390s and T69 give or take, as Simplistic does have an additional 69 compared to Nerve, who has a 1390. But Nerve did manage to shut down one of the light bulbs from Simplistic and Doberman, just like you mentioned. And now we kind of have an interesting stalemate once again over into the western forest, where Nerve has a lot of cover from these bushes, and Simplistic doesn't want to push into them and lose the first few shots, especially with autoloaders. The first shots matter so much.
Yeah, the west side of the map is such a strong position to hold. You have such great bush cover, and there's great ways to spot any approaches. We see how the T1 here, Lieutenant Carter, actually has gotten spotted, but he is going to back off, and let's see if he can live from this. I'm not sure. He is very high and very exposed.
Yeah, a large, though, is the one firing at him in that AMX 1390. He doesn't actually have a sight on him. He had it for a little bit, and then he went dark. After he went dark, that's when a large started shooting at him. So those were just trying to get lucky shots right there.
Blind shots, yeah. Sometimes you get lucky, and if you're very, very good and you can predict your enemy's motions, you can get away with that kind of stuff. So
we'll see how Simplistic is able to continue to use this knowledge to their regard. They do know Nerve is over there. They just don't want to position themselves to get fired upon or flanked. Prokhorovka, a very open map. And as we mentioned, in case you weren't here for the opening show, that today, this day in history, July 12th, was the Battle of Prokhorovka between the Soviets and the Germans. And now, 70 years later, we have an epic match between Simplistic and Nerve.
Down
Poor
goes. Go ahead.
yeah, Lieutenant Carter, poor guy. He went to the same bush that he got spotted before, did not learn from his mistake the first time, and he paid for it. I believe there should be a T1 further south, passive spotting that approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We do have Simplistic trying to make sure to shut down, but now Nerve is full on mobilizing down this western front, and Waffles has spotted almost all of the tanks there, as Red Paradise and Explosive Brutality will try to dispatch Waffles. Immediately, Waffles does end up dropping to the first shot there from Explosive Brutality, and that will force Simplistic to rotate, as currently they are moving over to the 5 line.
They're going to take up some nice positions on one of the back sides of the hill. This one goes along the 4-5 line here, and there's some nice hold down that tanks can get up, but all of Simplistic is spotted right now, and we're going to see shots go out. Who's getting hit? That's Primus, I think, down to 859.
Red Paradise was able to get a shot from way downtown, or way downfield in this regard, and maybe it just lessen the health pool of Simplistic, as we have more shots coming out from Nerve, just trying to poke and prod Simplistic into a tough position. Simplistic can't really poke over the hills without getting shots at from every angle. This is a very nice
and
spread.
there's Schoolie taking hit down to 1102. The high ground that we have from Nerve really is a serious advantage. all of Simplistic can't peek out. They can't get any spotting that Nerve won't already spot right back. So it's not a good position for Simplistic right now. They've really kind of got themselves in a hole in the ground where Nerve kind of, they've gotten the high ground at this point. I didn't think they were going to get it before, but they have it. And Psycho Killa and Hornsby are in fantastic positions right now to fire on anywhere in the map.
Their crossfire is phenomenal as well. Simplistic is more huddling around themselves instead of being able to handle, being able to respond. And any angle that they are able to line themselves up, they get shot by someone else, whether it's Red Paradise or Hornsby and Psycho poking in from the K or the F lines. This is a tough spot for Simplistic, as currently they're forced into a defensive posture. Look at it, they're just hiding over here in the bushes, over in the 5 line.
Yeah, and now we're actually going to see Psycho Killa go out of his position, and he's going to begin going forward. He's going to try and proxy spot here, and he's going to move forward. He is getting within 100 meters now of Schoolie and Artivore. We're going to see proxy spots come up, and this is Nerve getting ready to attack.
Nerve is trying to get into a nice position, and now they're going to start swarming Schoolie, the first victim that may drop here, but no, a big reversal of roles as Explosive Brutality does take out Schoolie, and it is going to be a huge on assault from Nerve. Prime Moose might be victim number 2, and he does. Red Paradise taking lots of damage, but being the main focus isn't going to be a big concern as Nerve has tanks to spare. Mighty Pillow drops as well. The last 2 members of Simplistic are A-Large and Artivore, but they too are taking big hits.
Yep, Hornsby is just emptying his clip into Artivore now as Artivore is scrambling to escape. He is on reload, as well as A-Large. A-Large looks like he's going to get away. Hornsby's about 20 seconds out now from his reload. I'm expecting to see him have shots up at 2:45 minutes left. Explosive Brutality also on his reload, and the T1 Independent is even spamming a little bit.
Independent says, look at me, I'm even annoying you.
Looks like A-Large is reloading, just about there.
Artivore has 8 health, an unlucky roll, but he does manage to be taken down to Explosive Brutality, and he will focus his sights on A-Large 2 for a decisive win here on Prohorovka. Nerve trying to close this out and make it a 2-0 lead, which would put Simplistic in a tough position because at best they only can draw from here, and unless A-Large pulls off a miraculous comeback.
Here comes Explosive Brutality. He's going to line up a shot as A-Large tries to get
First
away.
shot's good.
Ooh, A-Large returns and misses. So that is 1 shot down for A-Large. He is down to 5 shots. He cannot finish off Explosive Brutality at this point. Hope is pretty much lost for him, I'd say, unless he can set 2 tanks on fire, somehow escape from this. GG's to Nerve right now.
And Explosive Brutality trying to zone off A-Large as well from the flag, as Nerve is going to put him on the time constraint, as A-Large is just going to commit to it, but taking lots of fire. Hornsby is able to finish off the match. Nerve is up 2-0 going into battle number 4. Welcome to the Sky Village, as it's translated from German. In the red team, as we follow Clutch's Cam, we have the team that's currently up 2-0. It is Nerve from the Clan Gorillas. And over in the blue side, the south side, it is Simplistic going down 0-2. This is battle number 4, so at best, Simplistic can draw if they win 2 maps. And that'll be really important for seeding, especially since we do take our top teams into the playoffs and into the finals, which is in Las Vegas, Nevada, August 17th and 18th. Grito, let's go ahead and break down the tank compositions as well as the positionings early on.
Okay, both teams have the same lineup. 2 AMX 5100s, 2 IS3s, 1 T69, and 2 Tier 1s. Now, of course, we know that Simplistic on the south side has chosen not only the south side, which is a little bit peculiar for Himmelsdorf, but also they're being incredibly defensive with this. Now, I want to actually defer again to Rootkill. Why would you take the south side on Himmelsdorf when I feel like the north side, especially in the western quadrant, has so many more capabilities than the south?
Yeah, I agree. For the north, the west side, playing the west is very, very strong. But in the south, you could say the southeast is a very strong place to play if you are Simplistic at this point. However, it looks like they're not going to do that. They're over in the southwest, which isn't a bad spot either, I'd say. You know, it's not bad, but it's not as strong, I'd say, as Nerve's position is right now. Lieutenant Carter here, though, you see, is looking down Tank Alley. We're not seeing all that much, but I believe the 5100 Explosive Brutality did spot an IS-3 down the 3 line. So there is an indication for Nerve that Simplistic is in the Southwest. Does Simplistic have any indication that Nerve, aside from their own IS-3 that was spotted having Sixth Sense, does he have any indication of the location of his enemies? Actually,
as we say that spots has been dropped, so Nerve, I believe that his Explosive Brutality has been spotted over there in C3. Of course, that still doesn't mean anything. It's really interesting that no one from Nerve has even decided to take the hill, and that's kind of been the center of a little bit of metagaming. If you can send a T1 and T69 up there, you eliminate the enemy scout, and the T69 has clear shots across certain lines for some crossfire. But that's not the case at all. And as I say that, Nerve is rotating their T1 over up to that part.
Well, actually, he's going to take a left instead of a right and avoid going to the hill. I'm wondering what they're going to send off this T1 to do, Lieutenant Carter here. He may go into a position to watch over their own cap, but he may also join his battle buddy scout independent in the west, and they could join up and begin pushing down that line. Lieutenant Carter is getting out of the way as 4 tanks from Nerve are going to move out of the west. They're going to take the widest possible route, and they're going to, it looks like they're going to head towards the hill at this point.
Yeah, they might at least try to force something over towards the eastern half of the map, whether it's through the tank alley or the hill.
Oh, I love what's going on right now. Explosive Brutality is actually purposely having him spot. No, he's making sure that they're spotting him.
So he's going to make it appear as though everything is, status quo, just the same, nothing's changed, because all they've seen is Explosive Brutality, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so at this point, they think Explosive Brutality is still there. They think Nerve is still there. But guess what? Nerve's not going to be there. Nerve's going to be somewhere else.
They're pocketed over into A0, trying to make sure that there's no one there to spot them. But of course, the only person from blue team is the T1 over in K0, which I assume is Doberman or Waffles. And now Nerve's going to eventually push. Again, this is kind of playing into what's been expected throughout the series. Nerve's been turtling for a long time and then makes a giant push as we come up into 10 minutes of the match. Nerve, they're trying to make a concerted effort to band together, and well, looks like they're having second thoughts of whether or not to take the hill.
Yeah, someone's saying, I'm not sure about this, guys. And oh, they're going to send Marsh up alone first. This is an interesting idea. Marsh is going to go up alone, then his buddies are going to show up. That's their plan. They don't want to risk blowing the cover of this push. However, I think if Marsh gets spotted, it'll be pretty obvious at that point. So, not sure what Nerve is thinking.
Would you send
right
a
now.
T69 instead, though? Because isn't it more common to see a 69
I would send a
up there?
T69. He'd have a better time going up the hill. He has better gun depression, I'd say, and he has better view range.
Yes,
so
that's
it's just a better tank to choose, I'd say, for going up that hill, especially to kill the T1. So Nerve just seems indecisive at this point. They want to do something, clearly, but they're not sure of what exactly to do. I see pinging going out. It's B7 here.
Well, something to keep in mind as well is that if Nerve forces a draw, technically they win the series because they're up 2-0. We're in battle number 4, as it's indicated in the score overlay. That means that Simplistic would only have one game where they can win, and at best they would be at 1-2 for the series. So Nerve, if they force a draw or they win, the series is theirs. They don't have to necessarily press forward if they don't feel threatened to.
That could be what some of their team members are saying right now. Someone on Nerve is going, hey, guys, we don't have to push, while someone was previously saying, guys, let's push up the 0 line. No. Let's hold back. We can just draw.
They might force Simplistic into a position where they feel like they have to do something. They have to initialize a play, and as a result, be playing straight into Nerve's hand.
They do have to do something. They can't sit here and let it draw out. They should realize that they will lose this series if they can't make something happen. And it doesn't look like they're moving out very much, are they?
No, well, they're still spotting Explosive Brutality. But again, that still hasn't told them anything. We have Independent, Explosive Brutality, and Lieutenant Carter kind of hanging back over here towards 1 through 5. But just like you said, Simplistic hesitant to kind of move up and throw everything away. Slowly but surely, it seems as, I believe that's Doberman on the 1 line, pushing up very cautiously, trying to get some spots. And I think at best he will spot Independent. But he's also using that that bush. I use that bush quite often in Himmelsdorf.
So there's very few bushes on Himmelsdorf that actually are
Not
good.
much
Independent.
wildlife here.
Yeah, exactly. Very dead zone. All these bomb type buildings.
We should have sent them half of San Francisco so that they were so environmentally friendly.
This is not an environmentally friendly place. Wow.
It's not a human life friendly
yeah, I don't.
place
Yeah, I would hate to live here right now. The real estate prices.
Like rent would probably be really cheap in Himmelsdorf.
You have skylights everywhere, though, so I don't know if they could.
This is a feature of the house, open roof.
Yeah.
have lots of sun.
You could have a garden, go suntan. Although Independent's going to get away here as he engaged with Doberman. They both spend their first clips and then disengage. Doberman reloads first, but Independent is running away. Gets some nice little bit of air right there. That's cute.
Right.
And I'm wondering where he's going to go to next. I would take a right here if I were him, head off into the train station. It's a really good spot, but he's going to say no to that, take the widest possible route here. And
just try to avoid any kind of unnecessary shots as Simplistic slowly but surely pushing up across the 2 line as they are making a play for the train station, or what used to be a train station.
Still kind of a train station.
Now it's like a hobo shelter in Himmelsdorf.
I think there's a train inside, so does it count as a train station
Well,
if there's a train inside?
I guess that's true. It's
Yeah.
just what it used to be. It doesn't really function that well. Simplistic trying to grab what I guess is the train station, as we call it. And Nerve has completely evacuated the western side as they are now being defensive. And I think, kind of like what we were saying before, they're piecing together that eventually Simplistic has to make a move. Now, if there still is a little corner on B5/6 where you can kind of tuck tanks in, and it'll be really hard for Nerve to get shots, but that's why so many of those players from Nerve are lining up across A, so that way they can poke out and get shots if necessary.
They're getting set up in one of a very difficult spot to attack into. This back along the A line, A6 through A0. I have run into this situation before where tanks line up like this. It is so hard to break this. You cannot come around these corners without the perfect level of synchronization. It is going to be very difficult if Simplistic even makes it out here. It's going to be rough to attack this.
Yeah, most certainly, and Simplistic does have their T69 Schoolie or straggling on very slowly as well, just making sure that there's no tanks to flank, whether it's over in Tank Alley at D7 or anywhere from the hill. And they're going to make sure to systematically and surgically do this, very cautious. But they're on the clock again, only 5:57 remaining in this match. Simplistic getting ready to make a big push down the center of this map.
And at the same time, I'm noticing actually here, is that Independent? No, that is Lieutenant Carter going up to the hill. He's going to start spotting as this attack comes in, so it looks like the attention of Nerve may be elsewhere right now, thinking about the hill instead of thinking about the attack that is incoming. Hornsby is a little bit exposed here, out of position. He could get caught out and killed.
Down the center of the map we go, just like we were talking about. That little corner around the building over in B6 is a nice spot to perch and perhaps stack. We've seen big plays come out on Himmelsdorf in the past, oriented around this center little camp spot for a fast cap. But can Simplistic execute, as now 44 seconds have been on the clock, as Nerve will have to react to Simplistic's fast cap.
Yep. Train Noob is going to peek around, take a hit, back off. Explosive Brutality now coming up.
Okay, first shots exchange. Explosive Brutality taking a lot of damage. Mighty Pillow initializing and really trying to put forth, or trying to shield some of his teammates. Art of War and A-Large are the ones accruing lots of cap points.
Yep, Psycho Killer is just going to come right in here.
Needs to make a play. And Psycho Killer, he's still being screened. A-Large gonna take a shot for Art of War. Art of War is still untouched, but now gets a shot off, and all of a sudden the cap has been reset. Nerve able to play this one beautifully, getting the sweep arounds. Psycho Killer might drop, but it's for a noble cause, as Nerve is able to stop the cap. And now currently, well, we do have 3 tanks down for each side. It's still anybody's match.
Psycho Killer is on reload. There he goes down. And A-Large is left at 109 hit points. Art of War here, the only tank that is consistently firing anymore.
Schoolie trying to get a shot onto Marsh. Marsh trying to finish off what his teammates started. Lieutenant Carter trying to be a hero and take out A-Large, but is not able to penetrate. Good reverse angling. Schoolie circles around, still on the clip. Now Hornsby is able to take down a couple members from Nerve, or Simplistic rather, as Nerve is up 3-1. The last member alive is Schoolie. He has to make something happen, but I don't think there's enough hit points. There's not enough in his tank to be able to go, as Hornsby and Marsh should be able to finish it off, and Nerve gonna take a 3-0 win in this best of 5 series. It was a very valiant effort, but Schoolie is not able to execute enough, even though he does manage to take out Lieutenant Carter.
Yeah, there were 2 crucial shots he missed right there into the dirt. One of them actually, I think, went into the spaced armor of the IS-3. Yeah.